And welcome back, everyone, to the Box Office Report. Today, on the 7th of April, the first actual um, uh, box office report of April 2024. And I don't believe I got the box office right because I don't think I put the First Omen at number 4. Did I? Or maybe I forgot the First Omen. Anyway, I don't think I got the box office right. By the way, box office is actually out before 3 o'clock for me, which is insane. Normally it's been going updating it around 4-ish, so I've had to wait till then. And I'm grateful because I actually have to be somewhere in about a half hour. But I can do this well within that time, and then it'll just be uploaded later in the night. But Godzilla and Kong: The New Empire made another $31.7 million, dropping 60%. I think I know what the reason for that is. Monkey Man debuts with 10.1 million. Ghostbusters: Frozen Empire, another 9 million. The First Omen debuts with 8.3 million. And then Kung Fu Panda 4, I'm going to get box office mojo up here just a second so I can reference a couple of these. Came in at number 5 with 7.8 million. Yeah, you know what? I think I remember. I thought Dune would be in the top 5 still. I think I completely forgot about the First Omen, to be honest. So let's talk. Let's talk Kaijus. 31.7 million for its second week. Still made it number 1, easily made it number 1. I don't think anyone's arguing that. Worldwide puts it at $361 million. Just domestic is 135. Meaning domestically, it's made its budgeted amount back. And we did the math last week. You're factoring at least $100 million in marketing, probably around there for this film. On $135 million, the film's made on $235. That means the film had to make just under $360 to break even. Well, 2 weeks, broke even. Now it's going to do just profit from here. This 60% drop, though, that I think is I think that's interesting to talk about because that's a sizable, it's not like the biggest drop in the world, but when you hit 60s, it does start to say something about your film. I mean, you look at Batman v Superman, had a 167 or 66 opening weekend, but it dropped like 69% its second weekend. And that was a quality thing. Let's be honest. Like, I like Batman v Superman. We just watched Batman v Superman on Wednesday. The unlimited or the extended edition, which I had never actually watched. I'm going to be honest. It's the better version. I'd rather watch the original one because it's shorter. That did not need to be that long. Regardless, I think this is a little bit. Don't get me wrong. Godzilla and Kong: New Empire is a very fun movie, but it's a movie that's going to appeal only to a certain type of audience. But beyond that, I think one thing I forgot to take into consideration was the fact that it came out on Easter weekend. It came out on a holiday weekend. That's something I don't think I took into consideration last week to why it was such a big opening, 80 million. Let me just get the all times up here. If there's an Easter, because they have holiday opening records, weekend records. Let's see here. Is there an Easter weekend one? There is an Easter weekend one. All right. What are the Easter weekend records? And Godzilla Kong and New Empire made it to the 5th in Easter weekend. So good for it. But it does speak to the fact that I forgot to take into consideration it was coming out on a holiday. And so you have to take that holiday crowd into the equation. Without the holiday, you're probably looking at something that still overperforms. Still probably comes in at like anywhere between 65 to low 70s. But because of that, I think it makes the drop look a little worse than it actually is. Because if we're thinking, let's just say it came in at 70 instead of the 80. Let's say that Easter weekend brought in a whole 10 million more. Okay, well now it drops 30%, or drops down to about 30 million, but you take that in consideration that half of 70 is 35. That means it only drops about 50, if I do the math real quick in my head here. Not even, like 56-ish, maybe? Like, that would have been it would have been a normal drop. So while the drop doesn't look good initially, I think we got to take a step back and remember, wait, no, that was Easter weekend too. So whatever money that the Easter weekend holiday crowd got brought in isn't going to be here this week. And look, at this point now, it broke even. It's now just making, in fact, it actually made a little bit of money at this point. So now we can just watch it rake in the dough. That said, it's not hitting $1 billion. I was wondering about that last week, whether or not I could do that. It's not going to hit $1 billion. If it were at, say, like 460 million instead of the 3, I could still see an argument. But no, it's not. But I think you're still well within the range to make that, what was I thinking here? Oh, the MonsterVerse, right? Like to make the Godzilla vs. Kong, original Godzilla 2014, Skull Island. You're still on track to make that money. You're definitely on track to still make that. I mean, that's what, 139 to, well, let's see, Godzilla vs. Kong was 470 something. So that's just over 100 million. You rank that up about 120 odd something, or 30 odd something. Look, you still need to make about 200 million to beat the highest grossing, which I believe is Skull Island. Or is it, I can't remember, is it Skull Island or is it the original 2014? I think it's 2014. Point being, that's like 550 something or 560 something. You still need to make about 200 million. We'll see if it's got that in the tank. We'll also see if this 60% drop is what I'm saying, the Easter weekend numbers, or if it's more just kind of a fluke, or if it's indicative of, people just not wanting to come back to watch the movie. We'll find out. But at any rate, we got debuting number 2, Monkey Man, who, look, got good reviews. In fact, let's get those up here again. It holds a 87%. That's good money right there. Hey, The Omen's got a 78, so good for The Omen at least. And that new film Civil War, which I will not be seeing this week. I've made a point to explain why I'm not going to go see it. It's held in 93. Like, I've heard great things about it, but I do not have a desire to go watch that movie. I do not. In fact, if anything, I really do not find this was a good period to make this movie in. Monkey Man, though, look, first directorial debut for Dave Patel, and he did a good job at the film. It's got issues, but it's a first outing. 12 million, 12.7, so close to 13 million on its worldwide debut. Not bad, actually, because the film's only made on 10 million. So just on that alone, it made the budgeted amount back. This film at best has 20 million in marketing, and I'd be kind on that. So if I lowball low, it's either between 10 and 20. So let's just say 15. So let's say 25 million is what the film's made on. That means this film just barely has to hit about 40 million, and it'll be good. That's still going to be a tall order to do. As with all these films, we have to gauge its second weekend to know where its long-term box office is going to end up. I said it in my review. With other movies, like the higher budgeted movies, if you theoretically could make your budget back on, or just make the budgeted amount, if you're made on 80 million, you make 80 million opening weekend, 100 million. Avengers made on 200 million, you make 200 million. If you make your budget back, you're almost golden to make your profit. But that's with the bigger ones, because that's such a big number, and the drop-off, something you're making tens of, maybe even hundreds of millions in subsequent weeks. With low-budget films, it's actually the opposite. You actually do need to open large enough that you can take those drops, and it's not going to hurt very much for your or a long-term box office. A film made on 10 million should, if they're lucky, open to like 15 or higher. You should open like about 50% more of your budget to stand a good statistical chance of making your money back. Now, that's not to say a film can't do it on a low budget. I'm not saying that at all. But I am saying that with other films coming out that are going to compete with this on some level, you do have to take the numbers into consideration and people's interest in the product. Like, I'm not going to go back to see this. I very rarely these days go back to see a movie twice in theaters. I have to have a really good time with the movie and just want to enjoy myself. Because I also have other movies to be seeing throughout the week. For example, I'm going to be trying to see if there's a showing of that Arcadian, that Nick Cage film coming out this week, because I love creature features. And it's a post-apocalyptic creature feature with Nick Cage. So, that sounds like a good time. But if I can't see that, there's nothing else coming out this week, if I have the box office coming out, that I'm not going to go see Civil War. I've already said that. Don't Tell Me on the Babysitter Dead. I have no interest in that. Sting, I'll be honest. It all depends if there's an actual showing at my theater, because wide screen doesn't mean wide release doesn't mean every theater. But we'll see what happens with Monkey Man. So we'll see. It could work. Ghostbusters made another 9 million. It took only a 42.2% drop this week. All right, that's better. 138 million. This film is going to lose money. That does suck. But it's a hard fact of life at this point. On a $100 million budget, this film probably had about 75 to 100 in marketing. This film just does not have the legs. It does not have the legs. Even if we factor in some international releases that have not taken effect, even if I'm generous and give them an extra 60 million to go over to that 100 million worldwide or international number, you're looking at a film that would then be at what now 198. The film at minimum would have to hit like 280. So I guess the question just ultimately comes down to what went wrong here. Why didn't it work? Well, first off, bad reviews don't help. They never help. If the film had better reviews, it may not make its money back, but you'd be getting more people to the theater the first weekend. Definitely. I thought the film was fine. The film was an entertaining film. It wasn't amazing. I'm not talking about it weeks later, but except for obviously these. But it was an entertaining film. I would like to see more from the universe. But, the films have never grossed $1. They've never been monumentous blockbusters. And B, I think people are kind of done with the Ghostbusters for now. Afterlife was a great little return. It was a great little send-off. It captured the nostalgia perfectly and homage to the characters. I think their entrance in that movie could have been a little better. Like, when they show up, they could have just actually blasted Gozer instead, but whatever. I digress. But I think now that I think about it, even though I enjoyed the film, continuing the franchise past that might have been a mistake. Because I think now people are a little, like, because you're comparing it to A, the original, but B, Afterlife, which was a much better movie than this one was. I thought this was still good, but that was a much better movie. Almost everyone would agree on that. And it doesn't pack the same punch, unfortunately. It does feel a bit commercial. It does feel a bit commercialized a little bit now. And that sucks. It does. Because I would have liked to have seen more from this franchise. And look, in 5 to 6 years, we'll probably see another attempt at the Ghostbusters. We will. Because, look, we saw 2016. We saw what happened with that. Then, when did Afterlife come out? Was that 2021? Yeah, it was 2021. Because it was after 2020, which was the doldrum year. With the pandemic year. And then the pandemic was starting to end. And it came out 2021. So they waited 5 years to do it. Okay. So what? 2029 is when we might get our next version of them. At that point, Bill Murray and Dan Aykroyd might no longer be here. Ernie Hudson might still be here. I mean, have you seen? Ernie Hudson's 78 years old. I saw a picture of him at 78 compared to when he was 30. Except for some gray in his hair, he looks better now than he looked at 30. Like, I don't know what Ernie Hudson's been doing to get that kind of nutritionist and exercise, but damn it, man looks good. It looks good for 78. Anyway, though, so yeah, who knows what happens to the Empire? Frozen Empire, that is. First Omen debuts at 8.3 million, 17.6. I don't know what the film's made on, but these films are never made on a great deal. Let's see, the First Omen. Let's find out, shall we? The First Omen, all right. What is its budget? 30 million? 30 million? Oh, because you had to have the supernatural effects. That's probably where it all went. And you had Bill Nighy in there, who probably was your highest grossing actor you got. So, 30 million? Oh, that no bueno. That don't cut it at all for 30 million, not including marketing. Because they didn't really do much for different trailers for the Omen, so they barely marketed it. I'd be willing to bet no more than 20 million at most. So 75 million is what the film would have had to have made. Even if I lowball that to 10 million, and I'm being generous on that one, you're still looking at a film that has to make 60 million to break even. This film is not doing either of those numbers. And I think it's a Ghostbuster syndrome. This was a film no one was asking for. Most people don't dig on prequels. That's like a statistical fact. I mean, there are prequels that did well. Obviously, Star Wars prequels, obviously, but it's prequels and in a major franchise that had been absent for decades. You're dealing with Omen, which is just another Antichrist possession, devil, nuns, evil Catholic. You're just dealing with a repeated concept that even within its own genre isn't that interesting. So, again, personal opinion. Take that. That one's personal opinion, but still not that interesting. So, yeah, I just don't think anyone cares. Plus, again, you barely marketed the film. Anytime I saw a trailer, it was the same damn trailer. Everyone playing in reverse. It's like, no, do not worry, this child is his way. Like, oh, bite me, Bill Nighy, bite me. So yeah, that would explain why I didn't do that well. Kung Fu Panda, we'll see what happens. No, 4 million or 7.8 million. 410 million. All right, so yeah, this is what I thought would happen. It is starting to really peter out now. It still made 7.8, still made a little bit internationally, and it's still going to keep going a little bit longer. Again, it has no competition for its genre of film until in May. So it's got all of April and a little bit of May. And I mean, if kind of competes, but it's not even animated. Family friendly, but not animated. Garfield would be a real knocker off the pedestal, really. I mean, at that point, Kung Fu Panda is going to be in its 10th week or something like that, but still. But yeah, so look, I've said all of my pieces. It's made its money back long ago. It's doing well, and now it's just adding money, and it's got the advantage of being the only animated and real family-friendly film out right now. Where we'll end up, it's possible it could still hit 500 million with a whole month left that no one's coming out to challenge it, and it's still getting some international money and still staying relevant in the box office. It could definitely get to the $500 million mark. 90 extra million, that's doable, I think. I think it is doable. Now, I'm not saying it will. If I were to be conservative, it's going to hit between, I would say more likely between 450 and 475. But I still think there's an outside shot for the 500. Dune Part 2, another 7.2 million. It's 660. It's past my expectation on that. I thought it was going to be done at 650, but 660? Good for it, man. There's 7 or some odd million this week. Did it actually get extra screens? Now that I think about it, I couldn't tell. Where are you? Dune 2. No, both of them lost screens. But hey, look, good on Dune. It's possible it could actually hit 400. I'm not saying it's going to, but it's defied my expectations. 700 is still well within the realms of capability now. 40 million away. We'll have to wait and see what it does. But yeah, good for it. I guess the thing we can talk about real quick is why are people continuing to go back to these films? Yes, they're good films, all that. So take that out of the equation. What else about it is really drawing them back? Apart from quality, I think the fact that the films that have come out within the recent months, Ghostbusters, and Godzilla vs. Kong, while big and took the number 1 spot, and took it into week 2 for Godzilla and Kong, they fit a bit more of a niche. They're a bit more of a niche movie-going audience to a certain degree. They attract a certain type of fans. And while the Dune 2 fans definitely overlap with the Ghostbuster and the Godzilla and Kong fans, I think because you had a far better quality film with Dune 2, honestly, Dune 2 is better than both Ghostbusters and Kong and Godzilla together combined, if you factor all the good in there versus the bad. So I'll take that for what it's worth. But yeah, I think I think quality and the fact that their fandoms are very similar has really helped Dune 2, because when you have 2 other films that you might go out and see the opening weekend. I like that. I don't think I'd see it again. But you know what I want to see? Dune 2. I think that's part of it with Dune 2. Kung Fu Panda, I've already explained it. There's no other family films out. So there you go. Someone Like You. It's a fad, and it's based on the best-selling novel in the New York Times. Someone Like You is a achingly beautiful love story. After the tragic loss of his best friend, a grieving young architect launches a search for his secret twin sister. I'm sorry. Does anyone see that poster? You know what? Someone Like You poster. Give me 1 second here, because I'm sure that might be something different. Someone Like You. Someone Like You. Okay, here we go. Someone Like You movie. Let's get that poster up here real quick. And can you tell me, kids, that when I read that description, can you tell me what is wrong with this poster? Oh, great. You weren't going to be... Okay, let's get that bigger, because that's the poster. Okay, there we go. Yeah. Can you tell me what is wrong with that poster and the description I just read? Let me read that again for you, just in case you missed that, class. An achingly beautiful love story after a tragic loss of his best friend. Okay, sad. A grieving young architect launches a search for his secret twin sister. Now, I'm not saying that it is his twin sister. That is probably a woman he ends up meeting along the way and falling in love with. Okay. But you do not write that summary. You do not write that summary and then make that your poster. I'm sorry. Does this take place in the South? Because that's the only way I can justify that, and even then, I still don't justify that. I'm sorry. I don't think anyone was thinking on that. I really don't. But look, it made $3 million. I don't know how much it's. I don't know. Wicked Little Letters. I have no idea what this is. Sony Pictures release. Okay, I have no idea what this is. It's made $16 million. Good for it. I don't know if that's good or not, but it made it. Arthur the King, a film that pretty much just came and went like a fart in the wind, barely made $24 million. That's unfortunate. It was a sweet little movie. Immaculate Manor, $1.4 million. Another film that's really not making much money, $18 million. Might be made on a low budget, though. Neon films tend to be. Love Lies Bleeding, Late Night with the Devil. Most of everything else is pretty much just fumes at this point. Like Bob Marley One Live, $132,000. Not much. What is Imaginary at? I am curious about that because Blumhouse did not have the greatest year this year so far. $38 million. Blumhouse is okay. Imaginary at least got its money back at least, which is good. But otherwise, yeah, that's the box office this week. I mean, Godzilla and Kong: New Empire. I don't think we should take that 60% drop to heart because we had to factor in it was coming out on a holiday weekend, so it got an amp from the holiday. So really, that 31.7 is probably more like a 55-ish% drop, which would be a standard drop, honestly. Regardless, Monkey Man has a good debut. Honestly, this is a pretty good week for the box office because that's another week where it's almost 70 some odd million for the weekend. But we got the newcomers coming. Okay, we got Civil War. We got Leroy Texas. Oh no, that's limited. Don't Tell Mom the Babysitter's Dead is not going to be on the top 5, I don't think. Arcadian, The Greatest Hits. I'm not familiar with this one. And Sting. Now, again, we have to take into consideration wide release could be like 700 screens. A love story centering on the connection between music and memory and how they transport us sometimes literally. That sounds like a nice film. I don't think it's going to do anything because I didn't even hear about it until right now, so that's not going to be top 5. I think the problem with Sting and Arcadian is I've seen both the trailers. I have not seen them really attached to movies, which despite the fact we live in a very computer internet centric world today, a lot of people will see trailers online in the theaters and be like, oh, I haven't seen that. So okay, the real question is going to be Civil War. Godzilla and Kong is probably taking around a 50 to less % drop this week. So I'm going to just be conservative and say it's going to be about 16 million. Does Civil War make more than 16 million? Probably. Yeah, I'll say probably it'll make over 16 million. Based on the reviews. I just don't know. See, the problem with Civil War, and it's the problem I'm having is about, the distasteful kind of subject matter, at least at this time in history, is the fact that the audience that it attracts might not necessarily be the audience you want to attract. But I think it will probably do over 16 million, so I'll go Civil War. I'll do Godzilla next. I think that one's a safe one. The problem is I don't think I see Sting or Arcadian being in, like, double digits. I don't see anything else being double digits. So, I will go... Ooh. This is an ugly-looking weekend coming up. You know what? Legit. Kung Fu Panda and Dune again. They only dropped 20 to 30 some odd % this week. They're going to lose more theaters, but if they do something similar to that, they're going to be in like the 5-ish million range. So, and I honestly, no joke, don't see any film including Monkey Man, Sally, making over 5 million. Maybe Monkey Man makes over 5 million. So, yeah, Civil War, Godzilla, Kung Fu Panda, Dune, and then I'll go Monkey Man. This is going to be really interesting to see this week. We'll see what happens. And maybe I'm wrong. Maybe Civil War is just going to completely crap out. But we'll see what happens. Till then, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoy, and I'll catch you guys later.